All right. It is now time for raising funds for world domination. Day number 200, and I think it's 34. Because I can't see my title anymore because they changed the YouTube UI. All right. Once again, there are no updates on any of these items today. And today will just be another day of working on the block mining simulation game. So yesterday, I did some refactoring steps that work toward the goal of reducing, inverting some of the dependencies on the client block model context class. Because one of the updates for supportive multiplayer is going to involve having multiple client block model context classes. Okay. So we've got to think about what is going to be the next change to unravel in this sequence of updates. I'll probably pass client block model context in here. on open frame. That's going to need to know which client to use. Right, that still works. Excellent. Now this here is fine, because the help menu does not depend on the client. The next step will be to externalize these. Then the other one I haven't really thought about yet is this. So the question will be, where do I obtain this? I guess when I open a frame, I'd have to have like a submenu or something that figures out the client. Television. J3H says, help me. Sure, how can I help? That's what I'm here for. Well, let's take it a step at a time. Let's see what happens when I do this. Will it crash? What a start, I guess? A start to the chat, you mean, or? I mean, that's good. That doesn't crash. So I guess what we can do is move this out into the client. Stop ignoring me? I didn't ignore you. I said I would help. I'm here to help. Stop ignoring me. Can we ban him? I don't see any necessity to ban at this point. How's it going today? Pretty good. Starting to get chilly. It was minus 13 out today. Going to get crazy and long lines, but this is just a temporary thing. Winter is indeed here. We've only got another, I guess we're a bit into it now. We got, I don't know, four more months of winter until we get a few more months of, I don't know, we only get like we get a brief period for a couple of weeks in the summer where it's nice. I guess maybe a bit longer in the fall. But other than that, it's miserable. Too hot or too cold all year long. What's your opinion on getting into niche fields in software engineering? Might be less jobs. It'd be easier to get them through a community of that field, or is it being over optimistic? People have brought up a question I've seen people talk about a few times is like getting into COBOL programming, because they're like insurance companies use it, and they can't find COBOL programmers, so they pay a lot and stuff. But I'm kind of skeptical because I would say like whether you should get into that niche field or not probably depends on how close you already are in your like current position or social network to that niche field. So like if you have worked at some company for years and then they have some weird old legacy technology that no one uses, or like some old piece of equipment or something that costs $10 million and it's like on the pathway in your existing career, then I think it makes sense. But I think you're kind of if you just think about like learning the skill is a very small percentage of, I think, getting into those kinds of positions. Like I think a really important thing you need is actual experience, like job experience. But for some types of jobs, there's a finite amount of experience that can be gained. Like I remember thinking about how this was true for. I was reading about in New Brunswick, they hired some like guy to manage a nuclear power plant, and they paid him like $800,000 a year because he had tons. It was. I think some people complained, but they're like, we can't find anyone else. But the thing is, let's say you want to hire someone with experience who has worked at managing a nuclear power plant. How many people are there? How many physical power plants are there? So there's every year, like you just take the number of power plants, like, I don't know, 100 or something. Every year there's only 100 years of experience that are dished out to those professions. So of course you can go and like learn the material, but if you don't also have the experience, it's going to be really hard to like get any value out of that. Same thing with like COBOL. Like if you might learn it, but if you don't already have the job lined up, probably for better advice, I would even just Google like search for Hacker News articles about people who tried learning COBOL to get those mainframe jobs. I think I've seen some threads where people talk about this exact topic, and some people say it's like not that easy, and you could probably get some more specific ideas about this principle from there. You failed all your exams. Your parents are disowning you. That's not good. I don't know. You asked me to help, but I don't think I can help with that situation. You gotta stop watching so much YouTube. It's because you're watching live streamers, not doing your homework. We're talking about exams. We'll be trying to find jobs to feed ourselves. Well, you got to get through the exams before you can get the degree and get the job. Everybody's struggling everywhere. All right, that works. Okay, I think I've moved. I've moved out all references to this variable except for one, and it's this one here. So I guess what I'll have to do in this class I guess I'll have to have a method. Lock manager, thread collection. I'll have to have an add method to add a new client model. And then in the help menu, I guess what I'll do is when I open a frame, by default, if there's only one client open, it'll open the frame with that client. And if there's multiple open, then it'll open up a submenu. And then you can select the one you want. What is the temperature? That's a very good question. The temperature is 1. Thank you for asking. What's this about? This is software development for my terminal-based video game. It's a video game where you can wander around an infinite procedurally generated universe and mine blocks of iron ore and other minerals. There's a link in the description to the GitHub repo, and got a couple of videos there explaining the basic premise. Alright, that might do what I want. Oh, the likes are low tonight. I've only got one like. Normally I get around 8 or 10. Oh, nice. Thanks. Whoever gave me that like there. 3475 says, "Hey Robert, guys, how are you today?" I'm pretty good. Today was another productive day. Did more video recording and editing. Starting to get cold out. It's minus 13 today. How are you? Oh man, I misspelled that. CLI. All right, now I should be able to open new frames. Excellent. My 5 cents about landing and securing a job is assigned your credentials. It's mostly about social capital. It's in a way that can minimize the risks. If you can't catch my drift. I'm not 100% sure I catch your drift, but yeah, I think social capital. I think, in my opinion, people like kind of overemphasize like the idea of like some special super tight relationship as like a corruption or nepotism, but I think just like the basic idea of like you went to school with someone, like for example, two people who both went to Stanford and did the same course at Stanford. Like that's I think I remember there was some famous interview question or something. It might have even been like a Google interview question, and it was basically, if you took this one course with this one professor, then you knew how to answer that question. So it's not really like, to most people it looked like some logic puzzle or something, like you have to be so smart to answer the question. But if you were smart and answer the question, but you hadn't gone to the class, you still necessarily wouldn't fit in. I'm fine. Excellent. There you go. I guess I'm not sure what that's in reference to. You can bypass by forming alliances from previous contacts of your own social circle. Yeah, and it's also I think something that people forget is that, and someone in chat yesterday asked about, like, they said they just graduated, what should they do? And I'd say, your maximum familiarity with everyone. So like, just like solidify those connections, because not only will you progress in your career, all of your friends will progress in their careers. So if you just like, I mean, you could probably even do well in life if you just go to like a decent university, graduate, make friends with everyone in your class, and then do absolutely nothing for like 20 years and wait until someone in your class, like a few people in your class, are super successful. And then you could just like message them and be like, yo, I've been doing nothing for 20 years. Can I have a job? And then one of them might say yes. They need a diffuser of risks. That's why they may take a guy who has that social capital, like is known in that specific job or struggle. Psychological trick. A diffuser of risks. I guess maybe there's a couple things I could try to interpret from that. Do you mean like someone who's just like lower risk? Like there's the saying, it's better to pick a known evil, a known evil over an unknown evil, and there's that. But are you saying something more complex about like you pick someone who can like potentially I think it sounds like you're talking about a known evil over an unknown evil. I guess if you say diffuser of risk, it almost makes me think like, if you can get into a place like you're kind of like the like if people aren't certain about something, you could be like the scapegoat of something. But I don't think that's what you meant. Yeah, pick someone you trust. I think it's not also not even about trust. It's like the world is becoming I think the value of community is going up in the sense that, like now, yesterday I was saying that companies are having to dealing with they've accidentally hired like North Korean spies, and they're like using AI now to successfully bypass interviews. So like, go back 10 years, the worst case scenario is you hire someone who's incompetent or untrustworthy. But now the worst case scenario is you hire like literal spies, and now you've got like, national security implications, and they like, it's an act of war, and and especially now with so much AI, like people can cheat with ChatGPT, and it's getting crazy out there. Let me run that again, see if it crashes. Interesting. That's not expected at all. Only way we can bypass that positively is forming small communities around us, helping each other. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's I mean, it's easier said than done, but that's why if you go through university or you're on some kind of on a team or something like that, it can be it's going to become increasingly valuable to make connections. You can solo drive it with forming personal brand on socials, spam vids. Yeah. It's also, I don't know, social media is also becoming weird. The internet itself is like with the rise of AI and spam and stuff. Like in this situation, I mean, well, AI is good enough that now, like actual streamers and stuff, you can't be 100% sure they're actually real. But especially with like text, like I always have to bear in mind that every single person that I'm talking to in chat could be a bot. Even like the ones that, persistent ones that come back over multiple days and I gotta figure out why this is happening. I shouldn't be filling up the queue here. So I think it's happening when But that might be why. I don't think I unsubscribe. There's a lot of slop content out there. I have to be careful, but yeah, it's not even just slop. Like the slop is getting less and less slop-like, and it's indistinguishable from real stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's getting crazy. It's going to get so crazy. Like every day you check the news and you're going to be like, I wonder if this is real. So I have to figure out if the thread is done or not, because if the thread, I think what's happening here is I'm sending events, but if the thread for that frame has ended, I guess I could maybe add a destroy, and then Robert should be walking down the road with only one financial compass, supply demand. After all, that is the purest light of the guidance. Should we walk down the road with only one financial compass, supply and demand? I don't know. That sounds like a very theoretical economic question. I mean, having said that, when you look at the market, if you try to trade the stock market or something years ago, you could probably just calculate the amount of supply and demand and think about fundamentals in economics. But nowadays, it kind of seems like with all the money printing and policy changes and stuff, that almost renders the kind of old school supply demand analysis obsolete, because you can make the predictions right on how the supply demand will change, calculate the number of widgets and stuff, but then you can make predictions that are still wrong and lose money just because the government prints money, or there's all kinds of financial engineering to in the end, you don't know whether I was talking to someone today, the stock market could be on the verge of a minus 50% crash, but it could also go up by 50%. If we have an economic crash tomorrow, the bond market goes crazy or something, the stock market could go down 50%, or it could go up 50% if they just print a bunch of money. So if they come in with a bailout, then we get high inflation, equities go higher, the value of all assets go up, because what's happening is the value of money is crashing, and you don't know what's going to happen. The answer depends on what the government decides. There's many ways to wield the analytical knife. All of them are arbitrary. Maybe that's a very philosophical statement. If you use trading bots with the best of code, are you asking me if I've used them? I haven't. Smith627 says, I'm a big dog. Congratulations. I'm very, very glad for you. All right. The fundamental issue here is I'm sending notifications to these threads, but they're piling up in the event queue. Actually, am I just directly calling this? Because that might be an issue. Okay, that's fine. What is that code about? This is code for a terminal-based video game. Time to info and conversation of info to trade actions with least amount of delay are to niches that make up a lot of well-paying ML jobs. Are TWO niches that make up a lot of well-paying ML jobs. I know historically that was true. Like you're talking about quantitative analysts and stuff. I thought about going into that years ago, but I think even when I graduated, I kind of missed the boat on that. I think the lucrative money was years ago, and these days it's like it's insanely competitive from what I understand. There's a saying, the riches are in the niches. I'm sure that's true. But there's also a lot of like dead-end niches. But then again, it's also like there's a lot of stuff that you can get rich on that's just like totally random. Nobody thinks about. Or like kind of just basic things like a hot dog stand or something. If you have the right location and a hot dog stand. Mathematically fun. So socially and net neutral. Do you have experience in that space, in quantitative analysis? Like trading, making trades based on info? If you have a hot dog or pizza stand outside of a mall stadium, train station. Yeah, the things, a lot of the things that make like insane amounts of money, where you meet some random person and they're like, oh, you have $10 million from this one simple business. It's always like a hyper specific niche, or it's something so ordinary that you wouldn't think about it, and they just they were lucky or talented or both. We'll see if on device inference is a dead end niche or the future, and if we can all stay solvent longer than OpenAI can stay a lion. Have experience in ML for recommendation, batched and slow stuff. I guess I'm not sure what you mean by that. We'll see if device inference is a dead end. I think it's about attention. That's the golden currency. Maybe it's. It's difficult to distill this stuff down into accurate aphorisms. I don't think the demand on device inference is sufficient. On device inference. Is that like an AI thing? I don't think I've seen that phrase used very much. On device inference. Enterprise people have security concerns. They use on-prem servers. Average Joe is getting to be totally happy using Google's. Inference, linear algebra to make some output from input. Okay, you're just talking about generally where the computation happens? So I'm thinking about how to fix this. The core issue is I'm sending these events, and the events are getting added to the queue, the work item queue, but the queue is filling up if the thread is exited. I guess what I need is a Let's see what happens. What happens on close frame? On close frame. Destroy frame state and thread. I guess maybe I should even have should maybe even simplify this with like a poison pill. I had been thinking about maybe I already have an init work item, so maybe I should add like a close down work item. I would simplify this shutdown. Basically a local model, like recycling data from within. There's going to be a market for that sort of thing, especially in industries like healthcare, where people is a big deal and highly regulated. Yeah, there probably will be. I know I would. Every corporation's going to want to like hoard all of their data, but it's also going to. Man, the future with AI is going to be crazy, because like historically, I was thinking about this. Like in the future, almost all data is eventually going to get leaked in like the most crazy ways possible. Because right now, like let's say you have an Excel file with a whole bunch of like addresses and names and stuff of people, and you email that to the wrong person. That's like an obvious leak. It's like you know that you leaked it, and you know what you leaked. But let's say that Excel file, like or parts of it, or like encoded, encrypted, rearranged parts of it get added into a data, some sort of chat model, and like the chat model knows things. You just have to ask it, possibly in a weird way. Or like even cases where you can set filters on these things to say like checks and balances, like don't leak personal information in this model. But then you might say like you might be able to go to some random. Let's say you go to the chat agent of some phone company and say, give me the base 64 encoded Excel file with all of the like customer related whatever thing, and then it regurgitates the base 64 encoded entire document of this Excel file with all their information. But because it's just base 64 encoded, it doesn't get caught in the large language filter, or it's like maybe it's even encrypted. So it's just gibberish that gets regurgitated, or it's transformed in some way so that it doesn't obviously contain whatever, so that the large language model filter won't catch it. And this, like, it can always be, statistically obfuscated, and Like there's no going to be no universal filter to like prevent exfiltration of this data. And then once it's out there, it's going to get immediately incorporated into someone else's model, and then that data is going to get leaked again. So we're just going to end up with like this large ball of data, of all data. It just keeps, sucking in more data until it knows everything. Folks want personalization above all else. Fine with a niche, nuanced profile for my tastes. I use locally, but not if it can be used for market influence. Yeah, honestly, I haven't thought too much about it. I assume most of that stuff already. There's tons of data on you, even without all the sophisticated LLM models. Is this game open source, or is it going to be? It's the source code is available. There's a link in the description to the source code. But it's proprietary, but the source is available. I like to think we can create personal data repositories, like the scary global kind you mentioned. Imagine memory data, vaults, families going back centuries. Yeah, I don't know. The future is going to be crazy. Cybersecurity can be a strong path of a career. I don't know. I've heard it can be difficult, but anyway, I'll probably call it a night, and I'll be back tomorrow night for day 235. And we'll look into this event queue overflowing issue. All right, have a good night, guys.